Well, I suppose 2 doctors is better than 1. Here we go, properly kicking off Series 3 of Doctor Who Overdue Doctor Who Review and the introduction of Martha Jones. Not the introduction of Prima Agerman, because she was in Doomsday and the Army of Ghosts, a character who's now dead and gets a one-off mention here. This, I have maintained in the past that this is one of the better new companion episodes. And having now rewatched it, I stand by that. I do think it is one of the better new companion episodes. Introducing a companion for the first time, or, getting them lined up to fill that role. And so I do still feel that, but at the same time, it has most of the faults that the majority of these stories tend to have. But it's also got pretty consistent strength, and it nails what it needs to nail. So let's start with the good stuff. So Prima Agerman as Martha Jones. I'm probably butchering her last name, now that I think about it. I should have looked up how to pronounce that properly. I'll just keep referring to her as Martha. So Martha gets an intro, and Martha is a strong character pretty much right off the bat. You can see that, she's not a prodigy. She's not excessively, over-the-top intelligent, but she can keep her wits about her. She can put 2 and 2 together. She can ask the right questions. And you can immediately see why that would appeal to someone like the Doctor. And their dynamic off the bat is also pretty good. And that is the main thing that this nails. It nails the feeling of why the Doctor would gravitate towards her, especially fairly soon after having lost Rose. And it is kind of funny that he he'll spend a good chunk of this series sort of saying, you're not replacing... Actually, he says that in this one. You're not replacing her. He's very emphatic about this. So, to do the relationship metaphor, which normally I don't like to do, because I don't like the thought of the Doctor in a romantic relationship, but that's very much what this is modeled on, so we'll go with it. This is the rebound, after losing what you thought was the love of your life. This is the rebound relationship that you get into when you're not actually ready to start a new relationship, but something feels right, so you move forward, even though at every step of the way you're going, this is not, I'm still, I'm not getting with new, no. But the result is that he's not going to take full advantage of the bond that he has with her, and that he's going to kind of leave her hanging. But that's me getting ahead of myself and looking ahead to future stuff. The 2 of them bounce off each other very well. They have a good dynamic, and like I said, you totally get why the Doctor's like, oh, I like you, Martha Jones. The Judoon, I actually like the Judoon. I mean, the design's ridiculous. It's big giant rhinos. They don't bother me as much as, say, the cat nurses from New Earth does, and for what I admit is a pretty superficial reason, which is that I can tell how much work went into these heads. Not that the cat makeups were unimpressive, but it was cat makeup. I'd seen that kind of cat makeup before. I hadn't seen a bipedal rhinoceros police officer thing before. So, even though the, just basing something off an animal does tend to bug me, it does a little bit here. It probably bugs me the least here of any time that it's happened on Doctor Who. And I like, kind of their simplistic, very straightforward way of going about it. Yet, at the same time, there's obviously a certain amount of cunning, at least at some level, of the Judoon. And I feel like that's something that gets hinted at here, but we have never gotten to see properly, which is that, okay, yeah, they're described as kind of thugs and whatnot, but, the idea of yanking the entire hospital off the planet to put it where you have jurisdiction, that's simple but effective. It also takes a little bit of planning, so it does make me wonder where in the hierarchy of the Jadoon is the thought process going. Later on we'll meet the Shadow Proclamation, and you assume that it's them. But I do actually like the Jadoon. I think they work pretty well. I think overall the episode is well paced. It's a lot of fun. Its main area in which it suffers, and like I said, basically every new companion episode suffers from this, and that's a villain problem. The villain is not especially threatening, is not particularly well developed, and in a way there isn't a ton you can actually do about that, because when you're introducing a new companion, that needs to be the focus. We need to get to know this person. We need to get to know their dynamic with the Doctor. That is where the focus has to be. So the villain is ultimately going to end up being disposable. That having been said, the Plasmavore with her little straw that she sticks in people's necks to suck their bloods, that even by sort of the sliding scale of, yeah, it doesn't need to be a great villain, that's still pretty silly. And there's some, I think this might mark the first, or at least to me, really notable instance of the Doctor recovering from something with just weird, bizarre control over his body. Like he absorbs a ton of radiation and forces it down into his foot and then into his shoe. Okay. So why didn't he dump the radiation from the End of Time Part 2 into his shoe? No, I'm not... See, I'm just bringing that up because I did sort of think of it this time, but I don't want to dwell on that because that's the kind of plot hole that I don't like to devote my time to. They don't really bug me that much, but I know other people notice them. So, yeah, there's moments like that, and I also don't like that the Doctor kisses Martha. I know he has his whole big insistence that it's just a biomatter transference or whatever it is, basically just leaving a trace of his lips on her so that it stalls the Jadoon. And, it fits, again, within the whole rebound relationship metaphor that he basically leads her on way hard right off the bat. Even though he's insisting he didn't mean it, your words say one thing, your actions say another. Yeah, there's going to be a disconnect, and you're going to have to deal with that. So, it fits thematically, but again, it just hits that button that I don't like. Doctor and companion, romantic. I don't like it. I don't like it. I never will. I'm not sure there's too much else to really sort of dig into. Those are kind of the four major elements. There's the Doctor, there's Martha, there's the Jadoon, there's the Plasmavore. And really the only one of those that I don't think works particularly well is the Plasmavore. And then the rest work to varying degrees. So there will be specific moments that are a little off, specific moments that are pretty good. I like that after it's all done and this Doctor who had just been kind of following the Jadoon around, just tell us what to do so you don't hurt us, is giving a TV interview when they all get back to Earth going, I told them, you can't do this. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what would happen after the fact. Whoever survived gets to make their own legend out of this stuff. So for the little touches that I complain about, there are other little touches that I like. So the list of things that don't work or could have been better is actually fairly short, and the list of things that work is just larger. Now, I don't think, aside from the introduction of Martha, that this is a particularly impactful episode. It's, there is... nothing aside from Martha feels particularly significant. It has the feel of a fluff, of a lark, of just a fun little time episode. And there's nothing wrong with those, but they do tend to be considered some of the more disposable ones. But again, if you're going to compare it to other episodes that introduced new companions for the first time. So, like, for comparison, that would be things like Rose. I'm going to count partners in... Well, you could either count it as partners in crime or The Runaway Bride. I think The 11th Hour is probably the best of this kind of thing. So that one is really good. But then there's the Bells of St. John and the Pilot, and I just the companion introduction episodes are rarely great, and I think this is a good rollicking time. It keeps the pace up. It knows that it can't slow down, because if it slows down too much, you'll realize how ridiculous this one is. And it is ridiculous, but it's ridiculous in a fun way. So that's my thoughts on Smith and Jones. Have you seen it lately? What are your thoughts about it? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff to do. Buttons, links, Patreon, P.O. Box, other links to check out besides, all in the description. Give them a look, give them a click. Or if you don't, that's okay too, because at the end of the day, you're the council. I'm just running the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned. Should have done this before I started recording. Impromptu wins or not tutorial, or it would be if I was explaining this instead of just doing it. But, you know, what can you do? Here we go. That is not my best, but it'll do.